Want you to take us back to Kenya. You know, maybe tell people, because people have seen you DJing, people saw you on Facebook when you were DJing there, and people have seen you in all these events that they've been seeing you DJing. But I want you to take us back to where you were born and raised, and maybe give us some highlights of your early experiences as a child. And when did you realize that you actually first loved music?
So I was born and I grew up in Eldoret. LD. And having been born and grew up, so Eldoret is not what it used to be. The Eldoret I grew up in, if you visited Eldoret recently, is a very different place.
Okay.
The Eldoret I grew up in was a very intimate place.
Okay.
Right. It's small, no traffic, everyone knew everyone. And so growing up in Eldoret, we had, my family had a business that was in the electronics field. And we used to actually do sound lighting production for events. And one of my uncles actually was the DJ for that production.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I grew up in the house. We had a bunch of records all the time. We had turntables. We had a mixer. I used to go help my uncle set up. And when I say uncle, let me clarify. You know, Kenyans, we call any friend of our father uncle.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even a neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Uncle Uyo.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but he lived with us. He was a really close friend of my actual uncle. I grew up with my uncle, my dad's younger brother.
Okay.
And this gentleman was a very close friend of my uncle.
Okay.
So him and my uncle used to not DJ much, but my uncle, who's not really my uncle, used to DJ much. And from like 10 or 11 years old, from as early as I can probably remember, every time they would load up the lorry with speakers and records and everything to go and set up an event, I used to tag along. When they were wiring up the speakers, I used to be the one wiring things up, climbing on the ladder, tying the lights up there.
Into
Mkono.
Okay.
And then when he actually started DJing and the night came and the crowd was there and he was playing for the crowd, I was the kid sitting behind him on a bar stool drinking a Fanta.
Oh.
Are you sure it was
So
a
there's
Fanta?
some
Yeah,
there's
it
some
was a
pictures,
Fanta. I
there's
was
some
really
pictures of Sunny somewhere drinking a Fanta.
Well, you know, those days pictures had to be taken and developed on a film, and there were no there was no digital trace of this stuff. So there might be a hard copy somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's not
You
already.
just need to raid your parents' house.
I don't know. Perhaps you might find something if you do.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is really the beginning of my love for music. I remember even as we used to get ready to go to school, when we were waking up, the sun is barely out. It's still like half dark, half inaitwanga dusk ama dawn. Dawn.
Yeah.
Dusk ni ya usiku.
Yeah.
Dusk ni usiku,
Yeah.
yeah.
Usiku.
So
Yeah,
it's
kizungu.
dawn, you know, you're getting ready for school, you're putting on your school uniform. And I remember UB40 used to play in our house, and Lucky Dube used to play in our house. And those were the records that used to play in our house. So basically my uncle, who I grew up with, would wake up in the morning and the first thing that would happen is there'd be music playing in the house.
Wow.
And as
Okay.
people are waking up, getting ready, having breakfast, we are literally listening to music.
And how old are you this time approximately?
From the time I could, from as long as I can remember, probably from the time I used to go to nursery school, going to
Wow.
primary school,
Okay.
going to secondary school, like that was just the standard in our house. Music was always playing in our house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
On those big systems, you know, sitting rooms.
Techniques.
Yeah. Sitting
Yeah,
rooms
those
had
big
those
speakers,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they had an equalizer, a cassette player.
Ile rack.
At the rack, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Na iko
those-
nyuma ya glasi.
exactly. And we were not allowed to touch it.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was very
Na
valuable.
kuna
Especially
mtu-
one of those things on the equalizer. If you mess with it, now
kuna
you're
mtu
messing with
alijua
the sound.
fingerprints. Hata alikuwa na cheki akirudi kutoka job na cheki hivi kucheki fingerprints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So music was always a big part of my youth, my upbringing, and then going into high school, I started sneaking out, going to clubs and DJing.
So are you in a boarding
Yeah,
school?
where did you
No,
go to
I
high
was in a
school?
day school.
So you're
Okay.
sneaking out from a day school.
So I'm sneaking out at night from home.
Oh, from home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, because you went to a day school.
Because
so
I
you
went
could
to a
go
day school, so I
home.
would go home at night. Funny thing about my school, I went to the same school for nursery, primary, and secondary.
Eh?
What school
It was
was
called
it?
Testimony School.
Okay.
I thought he was going to say Hill School.
It's
but
in the same place, there's a building here for nursery, a building here for primo, and a building here for seko.
And it was close to where you lived.
Yes.
I think
Okay.
Inasan's family owned it. Because he
No.
shule. Wait, Mishasuke shule.
Now I'm hearing about it for the
Testimony.
first time.
Testimony. It was like
No.
it was a private school. It was like a Christian school, so tulikuwa tunaomba before every class, and there was Christian Union on Thursdays and all this stuff.
But Sunny, sasa umeleta religion hapo. See, I think you might have some Hindu in you somewhere.
Yeah, so my family's ancestry is actually like my family is Hindu,
Yeah.
and they used to go to the temple for all the events, Diwali, whatnot, all that stuff.
Yes.
I went to a Christian school.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and even like you know how they have Sunday school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Correct.
there was some Wazungus that used to have a Saturday Bible study,
Yeah.
and because it was just good, like other kids there, and they had good lessons and stuff like that, I used to go for that too.
Okay.